Hey guys, Buffy Game back here today, bringing you a video. And today in our conversion series, we are covering all AK weapon conversions for the AK pattern assault rifles as of season 1. So, as of the date this video goes live on January 17, 2023, we will be covering all the AK pattern rifles for assault rifles here in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. If things change and we get additional conversions here down the road in season 2 or following seasons, I'll go ahead and make an additional video for that. So I'll throw timestamps down below. Let's go ahead now and back out and we'll go through these. So starting off, I'm going to go with, we're going to be building the old AKMs. So this would be the AK that we saw in Modern Warfare 2019, the base AK. So utilizing the RPK is one way to do this, and you can convert this using the stock option. So we'll go ahead for the stock and select the Ivanov wood stock. That'll give us that old AKM AK-47 wooden buttstock. For the barrel attachment, we'll go ahead and put the cast 406mm for that 16.3-inch AKM barrel. And you can see, obviously, the right correct wood, the correct 60-degree gas block. We'll go ahead and select that, the right muzzle device. And then for the magazine option, we would ideally want to go with the 30, but it's going to be a polymer mag there, which is more modernized. That wasn't utilized till later on in, I believe, Gen 3 AKs. So we'll go ahead and do the 40-round steel mag of the 7.62 by 39mm, and there is our old AKM build. This is the base weapon that we saw in Modern Warfare 2019 for the AK platform. You can see it's technically an AKMN, the N meaning essentially the dovetail mount right there on the left-hand side for mounting night optics, any optics in general. We have the rib dust cover. And then we also have what should be a stamped receiver, but it's not showing it here. I'll show it on a different build from the other weapons, but we would have right above the magazine well there would be two rivets or indentations, which would either indicate it's milled or a stamped receiver based on how it looks. And we have the rib dust cover there. And then if we were to put on an optic here, this would, you can see we'll just throw on a Cobra optic. You can see it's going to utilize the left-hand side dovetail mount there for the weapon correctly. So that's exactly how we saw it in Modern Warfare 2019 and some of the older Call of Duty's Modern Warfares as well. So this is our AKM or our AKMN. Now to convert this to an AKMS, which we've covered here, I did a conversion on this. The ProLite TL3 stock, go ahead and select that, and this is our AKMS. The only difference here is that now we have an underfolding buttstock, which would fold straight down underneath the magazine and tuck in underneath the handguard there and lock in to make this a more compact weapon. So you have that for the AKMS right here. So the AKMN and the AKMS, or the MSN, I guess we would call it, because we do have that left-hand dovetail mount on there as well. So that's that's one way to make these ones. Now, staying on the same weapon, or the conversion at least, we can do the same thing from the Kastov 7.62, which at base is the AK-103, which is the more modernized version of what is the AKM. But starting with the AK-103 here, we can do the same thing. So to build the AKM or the AKMN, we'll go ahead and we're going to want that same buttstock for the Ivanov wooden buttstock here. So go ahead and go back in here. Buttstock is going to be the Ivanov wooden buttstock. The barrel, we're going to use the exact same one, the cast 7 406mm. And there is our AKM yet again. Now, the only difference here is because this is an AK-103 platform we're using here, we have a smooth dust cover versus the rib dust cover we saw on the previous build. And here you see those indentations above the mag well on the left and the right-hand side. And that's going to indicate that it is a stamped receiver. If those were elongated lengthwise and a little bit larger overall, it would mean that it's a milled receiver. So in this case, it's a stamped receiver, which is correct for the AKM. However, the only difference is, same as before, is the pistol grip is not wooden. We have a 100 series pistol grip on both. And then, obviously, here we don't have the rib dust cover. And then if we were to mount optics on this one, because it's a more modernized AK, we get a railed, Picatinny railed dust cover instead of utilizing the left-hand side dovetail mount. And now, again, for the AKMS, that same ProLite TL3 stock, throw that on there, and there is our AKMS AKMS. So those were the AKM, the AKMN, and the AKMS. So that's how you make those out of two different weapons they're utilizing, the RPK and the Cast-Off 7.62. Now we're going to go ahead and revert this weapon back, and we're going to be building the AK-103. So utilizing the Cast-Off 7.62 at base, this is the AK-103 right here. So here's our AK-103 at base. Again, we have the differences here, as you just saw with that AKM that we made, are we have a polymer side folding buttstock, polymer 100 series pistol grip, a polymer 7.62 by 39mm magazine, and we have a polymer handguard there for the upper and lower of the handguard. And you see the gas block there in the front is a 90 degree versus a 60 degree, and we have a different muzzle device on the end of the barrel there for the weapon. So those are the main differences there for this. It's essentially, this is the modernized version of the AKM, which we showed. So this is the AK-103, and then obviously we have a smooth dust cover versus the rib dust cover that we had there. So here's the AK-103. Now, some things we can do with this weapon, which we already showed off the AKM and the AKMS conversions, is we can modernize this for more of a Zenitco look. And to do that with the buttstock, we would go with the McCave R7 stock. This is going to give us that Zenitco PT1 buttstock. And then we can also do, for the barrel attachment, we can convert this with the IGK30. It's going to give us what is the Zenitco modeled after, not exact, but the Zenitco B30 lower handguard, as well as the B31 Sport upper handguard. And we'll show this one again later for another weapon. But combined, that gives us the Zenitco handguards for the B30 and the B31. And essentially, this is our Zenitco AK-103. For the optics, we can go ahead and throw really anything we wanted on there. We'll go ahead and put on the OKP7 Russian optic. You can see now we're utilizing that Picatinny rail dust cover, and we're mounting that optic. For the underbarrel attachment, we can go with something like just any grip here, the Lockwood Precision, or if we want to kind of replicate something along the lines of a Zenitco grip, we can go with the Bruin tilt grip. And this essentially is our Zenitco, one of the versions. We can make a lot of different versions, but the Zenitco AK-103. So this is a more modernized 103. You could also do the same thing and throw on this F-Tac Light buttstock here, or Elite buttstock, excuse me, to kind of give it a more westernized Magpul buttstock on there as well. So that's our Zenitco AK-103. The AK-103 put into service in 2001. I did do a conversion on this video just the other day for this particular weapon. So that's the AK-103. Go ahead now and just kind of strip this thing down. You can also turn the AK, actually, you know what, we'll come back to this because I want to keep it kind of in order. Now, covering the AK-103, we'll convert it to the AK-104. So to do that, the AK-104 was part of the 100 series. The 103 that we have here is a 16.3 inch barrel. The 104 is the exact same weapon, just a more compact barrel at 12.4 inches. So the barrel attachment, we're going to go ahead and do the Castovia 343 millimeter barrel. This is going to give us the 104 barrel. Now the skins, we'll go with the Raid Breaker. It's going to give us that black polymer handguard versus this ugly tan one. So we'll go ahead and select that. You also have the plum option available there too. So here's our AK-104. Again, the exact same weapon as the 103, just a barrel length difference. Instead of 16.3, it is 12.4. It's still firing the 7.62 by 39 millimeter, just a shorter barrel. Other than that, they are identical weapons. And again, you can do the same thing with this and modernize this even more. And what you can do here, if you wanted to throw on a buttstock, you can do, again, the McCave R7 for the Zenitco buttstock. You can also go ahead and we have the 342 millimeter barrel, so slightly shorter. This is going to give us more of a Midwest Industries key mod handguard for the 104, and you can see it also changes the muzzle device here. So the muzzle device here on the 104, the 104 and the 105 are basically the same exact muzzle device as we see on the AKS-74Us, which we'll get into later. The 105 was essentially, in the 104s, were meant to replace the AKS-74Us, which is why, because they're shorter weapons, they have that same muzzle device. But again, utilizing the 342 millimeter Socken KL, we can make the more modernized version. We'll go ahead and just deck this thing out a little bit. Throw on a EOTech. We can pretend it's a Russian EOTech. We can throw on, again, kind of a Zenitco type grip here. So we'll put on like the tilt or the EXO one I like. So again, here, essentially right now, this one is our, go ahead and throw on a laser for the heck of it. So here is our more modernized AK-104 versus the base 104, which we showed. This again utilizing that Zenitco PT1 buttstock. And we have the, what it appears to be modeled after the Midwest Industries key mod handguard for the 100s, 104, 105 series weapons, even the 102. So that is this weapon, the more modernized 104. So we've gone through quite a lot there so far. So now with that, there's some other options which we'll get into after this, but I want to shift focus. That's everything for that one. Go ahead and back out, and we're going to focus on the 105. So going to the gunsmith, the Kastov 545 is what we're using here at base. I'm using the Raid Breaker blueprint to give us a more black version of the weapon, and I'm also utilizing the charcoal camel here to make it as black as possible. The 105 is essentially this exact same weapon as the 103 and the 104. However, it's firing a different caliber. So it's firing the 545 by 39 millimeter versus the 762 by 39 millimeter that we showed. This is the exact same carbon copy of the 104 with that same exact 12.4 inch barrel. Just again, the caliber difference is 545 by 39 versus 762 by 39. So you see the same exact muzzle device here on this weapon with the 105 with that 12.4 inch barrel. The same muzzle device that we'll see on the AKS-74u is what we saw here on the AK-105. We have that black polymer handguard. We have the 100 series pistol grip and the 100 series buttstock, which folds to the left-hand side. Utilizing that charcoal camel, trying to make it as black as possible. However, with this one, it still retains some of that tan look to it. Now, one thing to note here for the 100 series that I didn't mention, if I can just preview it quickly. So all the 100 series handguards come with Picatinny rails on the very bottom of the handguard, so you can see how it's mounted there. So you have Picatinny rails on the bottom of the handguard, and typically you have a little bit of a small Picatinny rail on the right-hand side here for the 100 series handguards only. If we went back really quick and looked at the AKM, right? So for these ones, if we were to put a grip on, you would need an additional attachment mounted on the end or the barrel at the end of the handguard to give us a rail there to mount anything on. So that's how that would work. But the 100 series solved that problem by putting a polymer handguard with a Picatinny rail on the bottom of the handguard and a small one on the right-hand side of the handguard for mounting optics. Now again, here we have the same dovetail mount on the left-hand side. We have the charging handle, select fire, and everything like that on the left-hand side, or the right-hand side, excuse me. So this is our AK-105. Now, if we're going to modernize this, we're going to do the same thing we did with 104. We can go ahead and put on that Zenitco PT1 buttstock with that Marquise R7. And then again, for the barrel attachment, we can go with the 342 millimeter Socken KL. This is going to give us the exact same Midwest Industries type key mod handguard. And then we can even add to this, because it is a 100 series weapon, we'll go ahead and throw on an optic onto this. And we can throw on our laser. And there is our modernized AK-105, utilizing the Zenitco PT1 buttstock and the Midwest Industries key mod handguard for this. So the same one that we built with the 104, just different caliber for the 105. Other than that, essentially identical. So that's the AK-105 and the modernized AK-105. Now what we're going to want to do is remove all of these. And what we'll do for the barrel attachment here is we will go ahead and do the Kastovia 406mm. This is going to give us an AK-74M. So 406mm, this is going to give us that 16.3 inch barrel on this weapon. And that's going to give us, again, retaining the polymer handguard, 90-degree gas block there. So this makes this a AK-74M. Essentially, actually, an AK-74MN, because we have the left-hand side dovetail mount on there as well. So that's our AK-74M. Now, one thing we can do for this is we can modernize this, but before we do that, we'll make it an old school original version of the AK-74, the Ivanov woodstock, and then we can also put on the Cast 7 406mm, and then we can throw on, we'll keep that same magazine. So with this, now we have the old buttstock and the wooden buttstock and the wooden handguard. However, this has a 60-degree gas block on it instead of the 90-degree gas block, and I believe some of the original designs for the 74, the AK-74 had a 60-degree gas block still before they switched it to a 90-degree gas block. So this would essentially be our AK-74, the original. Obviously, there's some differences there. The wood would be much more cleaner and finished. These are old AK-47 AKM handguards, buttstocks here, but the wood would be much cleaner for the AK-74. And then we already covered the AK-74M. So now we'll go ahead and jump back in here. And what we're going to do is for the 105 again, we will make a more modernized AK-74. So we can keep that 74 handguard. We can go with the, again, the Marquis R7. That's going to give us that Zenitco PT1 buttstock. And then we can go with the optic. Again, we'll utilize that top Picatinny rail mount. So go ahead and throw some nice aesthetically pleasing optic on here like the Vortex. And now we'll go ahead and do an underbarrel attachment. Kind of trying to replicate a Zenitco underbarrel. Now, to modernize this into a Zenitco AK-74M, what we'll do is for the barrel attachment, instead of utilizing the Castovia 406mm, we will switch that up so that this is obviously an AK-74 barrel attachment. This one is going to give us the Zenitco B30, B31 Sport upper and lower handguard. Now you can see the difference here. It's the exact same barrel. The only difference is the handguard that you see here, the polymer upper and lower handguard, is being replaced with a Zenitco B30 and B31. So if I switch over, now you see that right above the pistol grip there, where the top part of the handguard that's there, above the pistol grip, the very top part covering the gas block. When I move over, you can see through the Zenitco rails, and you can see that that part of the gas block is exposed. So what it's doing is just removing this handguard that we see and replacing it with a full-length B30 and B31 Sport Zenitco upper and lower handguard. So we'll go ahead and select that, and this is now our Zenitco AK-74MN, essentially, or AK-74M, either or. We do have the left-hand side dovetail mount, however, it's not being utilized. We have the Picatinny rail dust cover on this. Again, these are types of AKs that you really don't see much, especially in Ukraine right now. We see only Spetsnaz, Alpha Gru, and the Chechen fighters utilizing AKs that are decked out like this. But that is our AK. We can also throw on like an Ivanov grip to kind of give us a more modernized Zenitco pistol grip, or even like a US Palm pistol grip look. And this is our modernized Zenitco AK-74M, or our AK-74MN. Looking really nice there. Now with that, I believe that's going to be covering everything for this platform. We used all the barrels here for this one, so that's going to be everything. Obviously, you can even switch this up with like the Magpul buttstock here. One thing that I did forget for the AK-74 series, we go back to the AK-74 handguard, and you can make the AKS-74. So with this Kastov Rama buttstock, this is a side-folding buttstock to the left-hand side, the skeletonized buttstock, same one we see on the AKS-74u. The difference here is this is an AKS-74 because it is a full-length 16.3-inch barrel. So this is an AKS-74, and that's the final design. Obviously, this one's a little bit more decked out because we have the Picatinny rail dust cover, the Zenitco grip, and the underbarrel grip as well. But this is the AKS-74. So a lot of different conversions there. You can throw on, different. Nothing really with the underfolding for the AK-74 series. It was only the side folding. I don't believe any of them utilized the underfolding buttstock. So that's all the ones for that. Now, moving on to the AKS-74U, the Kastov 74U. So this utilized a 8-inch barrel. This was put into service, I believe, in 1979 after the AK-74 series was put into service. So in 1979, again, utilizing the left-hand side dovetail mount. You have the ribbed dust cover there as well. 8.3-inch barrel with the wooden handguard. And here, again, the AKS for that side-folding skeletonized buttstock. So this is the AKS-74U. Supposed to be a compact carbine utilized mainly by tank and helicopter crews, something short, compact. This was eventually replaced by the AK-105, even though they're the same caliber. But the AK-105 was a little bit more modular with the 100 series handguard versus what this had, and obviously some other benefits, having a little bit longer of a barrel length. But the AKS-74U, so we can make the AKS-74UB with, or because this is an AKS-74, we have that dovetail mount there, it's really an AKS-74UN. And the N is pretty much anything that does have that left-hand side dovetail mount for optics. But here's our AKS-74UB, with the B just meaning it's a suppressed with that PBS-4 suppressor. So the PBS-4 suppressor on there, that is our AKS-74UB. Now if we want to Zentico this thing out, again, we have the short tack 330mm. This is going to give us, similar to a Zenitco key-mount handguard, potentially something more along the lines of a Midwest Industry, but it's really supposed to kind of be an intermediary between the two. None of the barrel attachments here are exact for Zenitco or exact for Midwest Industry, but they're kind of an amalgamation of both. So that is the short tack 330mm, and then we can go ahead again and put that PT1 Zenitco buttstock on there. We can utilize that left-hand mount for an optic, and then we can go ahead and put any type of underbarrel attachment there. We'll go ahead and stay with the Bruin tilt to kind of replicate that looks pretty good on there too, but to try and replicate a Zenitco RK1, I believe it is, and that is our Zenitco modernized AKS-74U. We could even put on more of a something like this would just be, I'll show the example on screen, but this would be, again, kind of a more modern example. We see a modernized Zenitco AKS-74U, and you can obviously throw a suppressor on there to keep it as the B as well. So that's the AKS-74U. That's really all you can make with this one. I believe these other handguards, they're just essentially the same AKS-74U, just you have different lower here versus it's a polymer, and you have a different lower with a rail, and then the same thing here. So nothing crazy there, but this is the more Zenitco Midwest Industries with the key-mod handguard attachments. And then obviously you can utilize different options here as well. So that's our AKS-74U. Now, really quick, backing out back to the 103. So we had our 104 built here. Let me strip this back down to the 103. Here's our cast-off 7.62 or the AK-103. One thing you could do here is you could also kind of make an RPK out of this with the stock using the KSTV RPK factory. Go ahead and throw that on. And then for the barrel attachment, we'll use the long option here. That being the Cast 10 584mm barrel. We can throw on maybe the 40-round magazine if you wanted, and essentially there's a version of the RPK making it out of the AK-103. So same as you can make an AKM out of the RPK, you can make a RPK out of the AK-103. So that's a lot of different AK conversions there. I think we covered them all. Let me know down below if I missed anything. I believe we hit everything though. So if I missed something, go ahead and let me know. I think overall, some of my favorites, you can see I have some saved here, like my Zenitco AK-103. Love this build right here. Looks really, really nice. And it's actually very, very accurate. This bore 490, it really reduces the recoil. But this is my Zenitco AK-103. Love that weapon. Use it a lot in DMZ. Another one I have here would be just one of my 104 builds. This is the Midwest Industries Zenitco type AK-104 build. And then for the 105, the cast-off 545, I don't have any of my custom ones there, but I think some of my favorite builds for this would be like the Zenitco buttstock. I think we showed off already some of these more modernized type builds, go with the Zenitco. We can even throw the PBS 4 on there and whatever underbarrel attachment you see fit. And then we have that 45 round or the 60 round quad stack magazine that you could throw on there for any of these also. So there you go. That looks pretty good right there. Obviously, we would really want, I like the Zenitco handguard on there. It looks even better. And then you would just make that black to keep that buttstock looking better. Now, the 105, the AK-105 and the AKS-74u have the PBS 4 suppressor, which is compatible only with the 545 by 39mm weapons here. Now, if I go over to the reselect the AK-103, so we'll go to our Zenitco AK-103 just to show it off here. You'll notice that suppressor is not available with 103. You have a PBS 1, which is compatible with the 7.62 by 39mm. So here's the PBS 1. You do not have a PBS 4 option here for these weapons, but a PBS 1. So that's our Zenitco AK-103. Really quick, I also just wanted to show off kind of an Alpha AK build here. So the Larry Vickers Alpha AK essentially in real life would be a 105 with the 12.4 inch barrel. However, we don't have the right full-length Zenitco barrel attachment for the 105. So here, utilizing the AK-74M, you can still essentially make an Alpha AK. And Alpha AK really just means it's been heavily modified. It's the term used by the Spetsnaz Alpha Gurus is Alpha AK is what it was dubbed. So this essentially is your Larry Vickers type Alpha AK, just utilizing the 16.3 inch barrel instead of the 12.4 inch barrel. And then we have, for the camouflage, I'm running what you get, I believe, with the M4 is the scales. Looks pretty good. You can do some, there's some different desert type ones here. The Hidden Snake also looks pretty good, but scales, I think, is most closely resembling what we had with the Alpha AK that Larry Vickers did in his video. I'll try and link that down below if I remember. Otherwise, just search Larry Vickers Alpha AK. If you're using the FTAC Elite, any of the Lone Wolf optic just for kind of a Russian cloned EOTech, using that Zenitco B30, B31 Sport, the Kloss VLK flash suppressor, and again, just any underbarrel attachment here. I'm using the Magpul vertical foregrip, and this is our Alpha AK utilizing our AK-74M. So the Alpha AK here. Now you can kind of do the same thing again if you really want to make a real Alpha AK. You can go with you know, the base or this Midwest Industries one with this barrel option. However, the real Alpha AK would have a full-length rail system, so that's why it kind of looks odd. So I prefer to go with this. Those are all the AK builds here that I can come up with for AR platforms. Again, I'll be going into more weapons down the road. Let me know your thoughts down below. What was your favorite weapon? Did I miss something here? Trying to get very in the weeds there, but I think we made pretty good time on that. Let me know your favorite builds, what I missed. If you're enjoying the content, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Like the video, subscribe. Until next time, this is Buffering Gaming with all AK weapon conversions for Modern Warfare 2 Season 1. Till next time, Buffering Gaming, out.